Oh, you're going to be on this side? I'm going to move
Yeah,
over a little for you.
it's okay. It's okay.
Because I want to take pictures of you too.
Oh, you can take pictures of That's fine. It's just awesome. Well, I like this apple cider, whatever. This is really, really good. So I'm gonna sweat like crazy, but
So good. You want one?
No, I'm fine. I will stick with the water.
yeah. Well, and so a little bit about what I've done. And I'm sorry, you told me your name is
Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, and
Jackie.
Brandon and Jackie. Awesome. So I actually started in the Pasco Economic Development Council. I was the second recipient of the microloan program. Okay. So I was the first, I believe I was the first minority to receive the loan. And I did it for 4 years and I paid it off. And the one thing I learned from that struggle or that challenge that I had to overcome is the connections that I had. Because and at that time, this is about 15 years ago, what I really wanted was maybe like a 5,000 line of credit to start some at that time. So my career is I help people with their Medicare options. So everybody was talking about mail pieces that you should mail and blah, blah, blah. So I was thinking maybe if I do something in the area where I was, it was gonna work. So all I needed was like this $5,000 line of credit that will allow me to do that. I went to 5 different banks.
Wow.
Okay, now I went to the SBA first, and the SBA approved 85% of the loan, but I needed to get 15% of the loan funded by one of the local banks. And that's the 15% that I went looking for every single bank. And I couldn't get it. And I couldn't get it at all. They say that I didn't have enough time. I didn't have, and you know, when you are an entrepreneur, your credit sometimes goes down the drain because you're the one that's taking the risk. So needless to say, I gave up, and everything that I have done in my business has been bootstrap funding. Everything that I came in, I use it for the business. In my networking events, I met somebody that says, hey, we're gonna take a group of people to the White House and talk to the people at the SBA in the White House. Now, I remember working with, at that time, the lady from the PEDC was Carol Maynard. Now she's working for the SBA, but back then she was working for PEDC. And we will do all the stuff, and she got me approved. But during the White House thing, they were talking about this SBA and how every business owner can have this. And I was like, excuse me, no, that's not true. What you're saying is not true. I had 85%. And I went around my neighborhood and all the banks that I know of, and they didn't want to give me the 15% out of $5,000, mind you, right? And then Carol raises their hand and says, well, she doesn't know this because we were working together and I have my part to do. She did get her loan from the micro loan program from PEDC because we actually have a system that none of the other banks have. So technically, the reason I was able to get this loan was because I have the relationship with the PEDC. And because I didn't have the relationships with the bankers at that time, because they didn't know me, they couldn't fund the 15% because they don't have like, okay, if she has this credit score and this, and all the banks have the same thing that they can calculate your risk and give you the loan. At that time, there was not such a thing, and especially in Pasco County. This is about, I would say, 15, 16 years ago. Okay, this is how long this was. And that's when I understood that if I would have had the relationship with the banker would have said, okay, Rosie, you already got the SBA. Now let's go see how we get you the 15%. So that's what I started thinking about, relationship currency. Okay, and this is a term that I'm not gonna take any credit off because that is from John Maxwell. He teaches his coaches about relationship currency. And what is relationship currency? That is that relationship that you build with a long-term goal that eventually that person gets to know who you are, they get to trust you, know you, and when they need your services, they think about you. And that moment when they say, oh, I need Medicare, I'm calling Rosie as soon as I get my Medicare card. The sale happened at that moment. And I'm not even in the room, but they have seen me consistent doing the same thing. They have seen me showing up at events. They have seen me giving back to the community. They have seen me at the food banks or giving a class. I'm immersed in my community. I am part of the community, not because I know you're gonna need Medicare when you turn 65, but because I genuinely want to know you first and then attract you to see, let's go for a cup of coffee. Let's see how we can work together, how we can change our environment together. And then, by the way, once you get all those things, when you're not selling somebody, because especially in our industry, people think we sell people, like policies. We are educators. We actually don't sell. I have an agency with about 15 agents. And I just came with the mission of I'm raising the next generation of insurance leaders with a servant heart. And in the insurance industry, I'm glad that you say your son is in finance, because in the insurance business, they also have a gap, like in any of the manufacturer, where the younger generation, there's not a person in the middle. So the people are edging out of retiring or dying. In my industry, they die. They don't have an exit strategy. I do have an exit strategy now, because I realized, hey, I'm going to learn from these people that they were selling a policy the day before they die, and then their book of business died with them. Oh, that's not going to happen to me. So I worked out, and now I do have a legacy program. So when my agents come and they work, and our work is not for the rest of their life. If they get to this point that we want to do, they can either continue to sell or teach others or retire and live off that residual income, because in insurance, the beauty of insurance is the residual income. It has gotten to the point that USF now has a risk management school, and that's to teach you how to do insurance, all types of insurance. Now, I got to figure out if they do in Medicare, because Medicare is a different animal when it comes to insurance. But what has made me successful in Medicare is that relationship building. Why? Because I get to meet people in networking events or events in the community before they're thinking about Medicare at age 55. So if you think about it, I had a lady that I met when the Chamber of Commerce, the North Tampa Chamber of Commerce, was known as the Wesley Chapel Chamber of Commerce, and they have now merged like 3 or 4 times that they have absorbed all these chambers. I met this lady because she was the marketing director for Advent Health in Zephyr Hills. For 12 years, she was in my distribution list because, again, you're right. I got to know her. I got to meet her. She knows who I am. But I did put her in my distribution list. And what has been consistent is that once in a while, she gets something about me. I have become now a lot better once I found some tools where I can remind them, hey, I'm here, I'm here. But I remember she saying to me, hey, next year is my year. And I'm like, your year? What? I'm going to be 65 next year. And I'm like, oh, really? And I can't wait until you help me with my Medicare options. You know, I gave her the little thing before, 3 months prior to your 65th birthday, you have to call Social Security, apply, or go online and things like that. And then she disappeared, ghosted me. And then 3 months prior to her birthday, she called me again. I didn't even have to, I didn't have a follow-up with her or anything. She calls me. So I go into her house. I look at her stuff. Her husband had already turned 65 the year before and made a not so, I would say not so, I don't want to say it was the wrong choice. It was just costing them a lot of money that they didn't have. So for a whole year, they were paying all this money, and the guy never went to the doctor twice in that whole year. So I said, well, I can help you and I can help him too. So when we were finished, done with everything, she was so happy, he was happy. And they say, Rosie, it has been 12 years since the day we met. So see, it has taken 12 years of relationship to turn into that currency, okay? And when I walked away from that meeting, it was her and her husband, so I had 2 policies that they were new to Medicare. So when we sell the first time in Medicare, that's why a lot of people are hunted down when they are 65 years old, because you actually get paid double the first time. When you are now 66, 67, and you change plans, it's a half of, you get paid one time, okay? So when I walked out of that relationship currency that took 12 years, I actually worked out with $1,200 at that time. And now I still get the residual income for both of them. But now that same relationship that took 12 years, it gave me an immediate income, and then also it gave me that residual income. Because let's face it, she waited 12 years to be my client, right? Yeah. That sale or that connection happened back then when she turned 65. I didn't even have to sell to her. The day that I went, yes, I educated. This is your plans. This is your options. This is what you're looking for. Now, in my industry, there's people that have done their work and they come out, this is what I want. And this is the reason why I want it. And my job is to tell them, yeah, that's a great choice. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And if they thought about it, say, okay, here you go. Let's sign it. Some other ones that says, I'm so afraid of this. I don't want anything to do with that, right? So people don't like to talk about insurance because they're intimidated about insurance because of all the jargon, right? But when you're sick, you want to make sure that insurance works. Because what's the biggest fear for everybody? That you're going to end up paying all those bills. Okay, you're gonna get all these bills you cannot pay, you're gonna lose your house, you're gonna, all these things, and that's the biggest fear that people have. So it's not even the jargon of all the things they tell you in the insurance policy, it's the fear of what's gonna happen if I have to pay all these bills, right? So my job is just to tell them, listen, I can make it as complicated as you want me to make it, but my job is really not. I don't like that. I don't like the complication. So that's why SNR, which is the name of my company, it stands for Simple and Reliable Insurance Services. But I tell you a secret. When I started this, it was my husband, Scott, and I'm Rosie, and it was only the both of us. So I say SNR for Scott and Rosie because, I was just going to do things with my husband and my friends, pretty much. Little did I know, I had a calling to teach people how to do what I do. So once I have 15 people, I'm thinking, cannot call it a Scott and Rosie anymore. So simple and reliable insurance services. But that's what it is. I simplify, and whatever we select is reliable because I want to make sure that it is what you are going to be using. Now, why relationship currency is important on that industry too, and in any industry. Because now, my relationship with this person is for the rest of their lives. See, the beauty of Medicare is you get paid your residual income until that person is no longer with us. Okay? So, I want to make sure that they trust me enough that if anything happens, they call me. Okay? If they are scared, confused, if when I met them, they were super healthy and they don't use the insurance for nothing. But now they develop something that is scary. And now they need access to quality care. Before they wanted just the savings and the perks because I never use it, right? So we're going to work it. We're going to have this plan. But now that plan is not working. So I need to make sure that they trust me enough to say, Rosie, things are not as easy as they used to be when we met. I need something that is going to give me not more coverage, because the coverage is the same, but more access to quality care. Because one of the things that people don't understand where I come and teach on the insurance aspect, in Medicare, there's the HMOs and the PPOs. And the HMOs is very restricted. And I tell people, in the HMO arena, you taking your power and give it to the primary care physician. And now they're empowered of your health. So they're the driver of your health. You're the co-pilot. But if you say go right and they want to go left, they're going to go left. okay? And I said to him, if you want to give up that option, if you're going to give up that power, make sure you give it to a doctor that wants that power, because there's some doctors also that power is very hard on them, very demanding. And they say, I don't want that power, but if you want to give it to me, I'm going to have to take it, right? So I said, you want to give that power. And at the very beginning, if you don't use it, if you ever go to the doctor, why not, right? But if things started getting that you need more access to care, and now this doctor is not sending you to where you need to be so you can get better, we need to switch gears at that time and change plans. So that's what the relationship currency has been so pivotal part of what I do. And where does it start, right? You're talking about networking. Yeah, they used to call me the whole thing. I have this follow or this movement called the Where is Rosie movement. And that happened because of networking. So I used to be at every single networking, because if you don't know by now, I'm a type I personality. I love talking to, I'm the social butterfly. I will talk to anybody. And when I arrived to Pasco, there was not that many people that were different like me, okay? But they always embraced me. They always loved me. They always made me feel welcome. And this is something that I always share. So I remember I will go and say hi to everybody, and I will give, everybody shakes their hand, but I kind of hug people depending on what you're. So one day I was in this event talking to somebody, and I see a line of people just standing there. And they were all hugging me, and then the next thing they will go in, and they're hugging me, and they will go in, because I always stay like right at the entrance, because I like to welcome people in. And then this lady tells this other person, why are we standing in this line for? And they said, well, we all hug Rosie before we go into the networking. Honestly, nobody said that, but I said, and they say, oh, why do we do that? Because in her culture, that's what we do. So I'm like, okay, so she's staying there. Then she gave me a hug, and they went inside the networking group. See, I changed my environment, but also they accept me and they embrace that change. So that's when I realized, so instead of being, I always, when I go to a place, I want to make a difference. I want to leave the place that I am or that I have visited better than it was when I arrived. So the networking, that's how I started the movement of Where is Rosie, because I took this social media class. It was a social media school. I spent $495, I remember, 15 years ago when social media just started. And I paid it in 2 payments. And I said, I'm going to prove that social media does not work for business, because how come we have a tool that is free? You don't have to pay anything for it, but people are using it for their business. So I'm going to prove them wrong that this is not working for business. So I took that class and I said, now I'm going to test it. And then that morning, somebody calls me and says, where is Rosie going to be today? Huh? So I said, okay. So I started with every post in my social media platform was, where's Rosie? Where's Rosie? Where's Rosie? Within 2 months, I found Rosie. People will come to me, I found Rosie. And we'll take a selfie and I'll post it, and they put hashtag I found Rosie. And just this became this whole thing. And now this, if you need to know where you need to go in Tampa, you got to talk to Rosie. So when you come to Tampa, you're one of those new people, there's 3 names that you get given as the people that you need to know. And that usually one of those names is me. Okay. So the networking is what has gotten me there. And the networking has always been about not me. It's always been about getting to know how I can help the person. So it's the giver gains mentality. If you haven't heard, there's a book, it's an Audible called The Giver's Gain. And it's really good because it tells you about you giving first. Always try to find out how you give people, because let's face it, if you're starting a business and if you are taking the risk, what's the first thing is the financial risk that comes with it, right? So you want to make sure the business works. We do live in the American dream, but people live the American dream because they take risks. Most of those risks as financial risk, right? So we want to make sure that their financial risk, they can make it, right? Because if you make it in 5 years, pretty much you made it. But if you're in the 2nd, 3rd year, you're still kind of there and you think you can breathe, but you're still struggling, right? because again, the financial, until you find out what is your purpose, how it makes you different from everybody, which is, by the way, the reason why you go to the co-starters program here in the PEDC.
Oh, thank you.
Because the co-starter program is a 6 week or 9 weeks where it takes the co-starter program is if you have an idea and you don't know if it's going to make it or not, you go through these 9-week programs with your idea, and they take it from the idea to where it's going to make money, if it's going to make money, or if it's going to be a hobby. But it's a great program that I would recommend. I was also part of that program. I have taken advantage of everything in the PEDC, and that's why my passion of
June 12th, I think, or the 5th.
right, and that's why my passion of giving back, because I this is where I started, this is where I became who I am today, and I own it to PEDC.
Nice.
So anyway, so back to the relationship currency. These networking events, especially here in Tampa, right? You can network 24/7 because everybody has a networking. So how do you select? How do you do? How do you go about selecting? Because also, if you network 40 hours a week, then when are you going to work, right? So you have to have an idea. And I always tell people, when you network, it's fun, but you have to have a goal and you have to have a purpose, okay? Why are you going to the network? And also, you can try different networking groups. Not every networking group is going to be for you, and it's okay because it depends on the leadership. But let's face it, your paying tribe is not somebody else's paying tribe. And that's the same thing in networking. So go with a goal. And then, for example, I will say, I usually have the one that I like the most. If it's a weekly networking, I started in BNI. So when I was new into the industry, never sold up anything in my life and never owned an insurance company, an insurance policy, somebody says, come into this BNI group. And I sat in a room with about 45 people, and I needed every single thing that they offer. I say, oh my God, I belong here. I felt that. That's the first time that I realized what networking was all about. And I said, oh, well, we Hispanics call that, just tell your cousins and your mom and everybody, and you guys call it networking. Okay, that's what we do. But I remember when I walked in there, the person already had a life insurance policy, and he's the one that invited me. So I thought, if this is city specific, I'm not going to be able to join because I have a health, life, and insurance, a health, life, and annuities license. And he goes, no, but I hold the seat of life. You can hold the seat of Medicare. I can do that. So I became so good at realizing that I was a natural networker, and I just needed to hone my skills, and that's what BNI helped me. So that first year, and only year that I did BNI, I became Rookie of the Year for my corporate job with Humana Healthcare. Again, never selling anything in my life and never owning an insurance policy in my life, but it was the connections. So that's the one that I will go weekly. Then I pick one more that is usually every other week. So you get twice a month. And that's usually, if you have kids, PTA. Go get involved with your kids. One of the things that I always mention is that I was a single mom, and I was an absent single mom. So not only bad that I was a single mom, I was also an absent single mom. So I have two wonderful kids, Tabitha, who's 34, Steven, who's 30. And Tabitha pretty much raised Steven because they were by themselves, right? So if I can teach somebody else that you can have a career where you can be part of your children's life, why not? If you have children, get involved with PTA. You never know. Those PTA people, especially because in my industry, people says, well, they're not turning 65 yet. And nobody in my BNI group turned 65. But guess what? Their parents were turning 65. Usually the parents that have children, small children, they have parents because they're the sandwich generation. And they're the ones that help their parents make the decision. So it was like, think about this thing. And then I have one more, which is usually, that's my feel good, that's my heart one. So right now I'm involved with the Zephyr Hills Pregnancy Center. The Pregnancy Center is very near and dear to my heart. So we meet with the board of directors. I'm part of the board of directors once a month. And let's face it, there's about 10, 12 people, which they're movers and shakers in that area, because if they're there because they want to be there, right? Relationship currency. If they're movers and shakers, they have works. They have other places that they have a place of employment. If they're entrepreneurs, they have they have employees. And let's face it, that's probably one of the boards, because a lot of people do not know how to say no, right? So they're not involved in one board, but they're involved in many, many boards. And those are the ones that you need to build a relationship. So you go with these places with a goal. So if you go into a networking event, what's the goal? So I used to say, I can go around, and if it's 45 people, I can get 45 business cards, right? Yeah, so 45 business cards means I'm going to have 45 one-to-ones, which is one-to-one is an hour. So that you're not working 40 hours, now you're working 45 hours. When are you really going to work your business if you're doing one-to-ones for 45 hours out of your week? So what I used to say is have a goal. So my goal was I wanted to meet property and casualty people and people that they were in banking. Because after my little thing with the SBA and not getting loans, I met a couple of bankers and I became, I made connections with them and realized that in banking, they get people that go into the bank when they're retiring to move their money. And those people need Medicare. So those were my two goals. People with property and casualty, because at that time property and casualty was not doing Medicare, and bankers. So I would say if I can get 5 cards specifically for bankers and insurance, then I will do 5 one-to-ones with these people, because those became my marketing team. Now if I take, and this is how we'll go, do my 5, and then I'll go usually to the back, to the drinking or where everybody was hanging out and having a good time, because I already did my job. I went, did my business, and now I'm going to have fun. But I'm going to follow up. But there were the people that will give me the business cards. So I will take those business cards and they will go into the distribution list, okay? Because they were okay, but they were not the target market and the goal that I was there for. And then for the other 2, which is the once a month or every other week or twice a month, with those people, what you really do need is to have that specifically of having a coffee and see what's in their heart, what's important. So for example, for the pregnancy center, we just had the ladies' tea party. I always get a table with the ladies, and I invite 10 other ladies that never know anything about the pregnancy center, but I know they have a heart for helping other women, and I can hang out with them. They get to spend 2 hours with Rosie around, and they love that. And I know that they are going to, because they get all the food and they're going to be able to donate back to the pregnancy center, okay? But I get to do fun things with these people after I get to know where their heart is, what ticks to them, what makes them happy. And usually what I do with them also is the mentorship. A lot of people have the idea, I want to start a business, Rosie. But what is the biggest thing that you need to learn about your business? Is the consistency and understanding that this is about resilience. Mm-hmm. Because there's going to be days that you're not going to want to get up. You're not going to want to do what you have to do. So it takes your discipline and your habit, because the discipline will help you build your habit. And the habit is the one that says, nope, I got to do it because I have to do it. See, now I can say, a lot of people when they call me and says, Rosie, do you work weekends? Do you have a 9 to 5? It's like, pretty much I work when I want to, because I don't work. I love so much what I do that if it's a Sunday afternoon that you have it available, I will meet with you on a Sunday afternoon, because I'm the captain of my destiny. I'm the captain of my time, right? So that is why this is very important. So bottom line, have a goal. Don't overdo it. Make sure you follow through, and always give first before you're receiving. Because if you continue to give people, their barriers are going to come down, and they're going to say, tell me again what you do, Rosie. Because at the very beginning, they don't understand. Well, Medicare, oh no. But once I have given so much to them, they feel, as humans, we feel we have to give back. We have to give back. So that's pretty much what I have for a relationship currency. So if you have any questions.
Let me ask about your business. So are you a broker, or are you tied to
So Medicare has two avenues. You can do a captive, and I was a captive agent for Humana for my first 4 years of the business. But then I realized that my friend, the broker that I met at BNI, every time that I couldn't help people with the Humana policy, I would send it to the broker. And again, I have some great mentors. That's the other part about networking. You got great mentors. So he said, Rosie, come over. Let me show you how much money I make with the policies that you have referred to me. And when I saw the amount, I'm like, and you get to do this for the rest of your life? He goes, yes. This is how much money you're leaving on the table. I was like, well, I think I'm going to have to do this broker thing. What is the worst thing that can happen? I fall flat in my face, and then I got to go back to my corporate America job. But I never did. So so I was a captive agent, but now I'm a broker.
So why do you sell Humana versus Blue Cross Blue Shield?
So I don't sell anything like I mentioned, but I do have, the first thing I do is a need assessment. So a need assessment has the doctors, if people like the doctors, because seniors are very, especially people that they're very married to their doctors.
Yeah.
When the doctors are retiring, they're literally crying in the offices of the doctors. But doctors and medications, those are the big things. So medications may cover under Humana. They might not be covered under Florida Blue, or you said Florida, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Same, yeah. Well, it used to be called Blue Cross Blue Shield, now it's called Florida Blue. And then same thing with the network. They might have certain network over here, and this one has a different network. Now, Florida Blue for the under 65, they're very well known. So a lot of doctors, that's what I get a little bit upset, because I don't tell people go take a aspirin if your head hurts. So I don't have the license for that. I'm not a doctor. So I don't understand why they say, oh, you're turning 65, go get Florida Blue. Because Florida Blue in the Medicare arena is the one that will cost most to the Medicare recipient. But because the doctor says go there, they will enroll to that. But why does the doctor say go there? Because they get paid more money. So the doctor gets paid more money. And that's what I tell people. Okay, who am I working for? Am I working for you or the doctor? Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you get what you want from your plan. But if it is that you want to give that doctor whatever he tells you to do, let's get you Florida Blue. But this is what's going to happen. This is how much it's going to cost you, and this is how much more you're going to end up paying. And if they still say yes, I want to do it, I'll do it. Yeah. So I don't lead with a plan. A lot of people says, what's the plan that you sell the most? What's the best plan around? No, there's no best plan. They all have something ugly. They always have something really good. But my job is find out what is your goal, because my job is to make sure that you keep that policy for as long as possible. If you don't need it, people don't call me 5, 6, 7 years. I say, hey, we really need to look at your policy. Well, if it's not broken, I don't want to touch it. And I say, well, it's not broken, but things are changing, so let's get together. Okay? So
I have a lot of experience with Florida Blue, those policies, agents. You probably use some software that I've actually sold them, so that's why I asked if you were a broker.
yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So in my...
Let me ask you my question.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Okay.
So everything that you have said, I completely agree with. Okay? So I started off, I've been in Florida for close to 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
My first 10 years, I worked here in Tampa, surrounding area, right? So all my volunteering was here, all my work was here, so my network was pretty expansive. The last 15 years, all my volunteer work is here, and I get on a plane and fly away every week. So where you're walking in to Wesley Chapel, I'm flying to Boston to go to those events. So I've got to make the most out of it, but my geography for territory is here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I'm looking to make that change. You have any suggestions on how do you maintain, or how would you maintain your relationship whenever I have 50 people across 23 states that I can't go have coffee with every week?
Well, and that's very important, right? You know how they say people will never remember what you said, but they will remember how you make them feel, right? And like I said, now I have amazing 15 agency partners, I call them, because they're my partners. If they succeed, I succeed. Okay, so some people will say, Rosie is my upline. I'm not your upline. I am actually, you are my partner in the industry. But I think the one thing that I had to learn on that is, which has been very hard, is listen to what they said. Not listen to empathize with them, to hear them, not to answer them. Right? Because that's the relationship. So yes, you got 50 people that you might want to have coffee because you fly in, in another states. And virtual is okay, but some people do not like virtual that much. But I do believe that if you have that schedule where you have to go meet with them, show up and be consistent, right? But go back to, hey, how is this thing going? Learn that one thing. One of the things that I always do, for example, when I go to events now, because I met so many people, I didn't remember where I met them. Yeah. So when I put my card, I put little notes. You know how our software have little notes? How is little Johnny? Oh, how's your kitty? Or things like that. And the other very, very important, so social media, after the Where is Rosie thingy, realized that it was not about the selling in social media, it was about the branding in social media. So that's the thing. When you have this relationship, so when I'm almost running out of my Facebook friends, so now I do my networkings, I moved it to LinkedIn. Yeah. LinkedIn is one of I'm more active in LinkedIn. And Facebook, because I like the social aspect of Facebook and my seniors are there. But LinkedIn is where I really put all my professional and stuff like that. So when I meet somebody, the first thing I do, yes, I'm going to put them in my distribution list and they're going to have the opt-out. So they get a welcome and they can opt out and they want to no hard feelings. But then I connect with them in social media. And then I take, with timer, 25 minutes in the morning to put my little post of whatever I want to, but then I'm going to go look at those people that matter and look at their profile and comment in their profile. And then keep track of, like their kids. So, you got to tell me more about. So when I talk to you next time, they're going to say, how did he know that? It's like you genuinely get to know these people.
Are you writing your post or are you having AI generate you?
So I am writing my own post, but I get them through ChatGPT first. And I am going to the point right now where most of my posts are going to be written by the ChatGPT. But there is, in my Facebook, if you see in my phone, I have pictures. I love taking pictures. I love taking pictures. So if I don't put them in social media, they get stuck on my phone. And I don't want them stuck on my phone. So that's why I force myself or I encourage myself to get the post. Now, last year, my husband had 2 open heart surgeries. So last year I had one, and then 15 months before he had another one. So the last 15 months has been really hard. So I have 15 months worth of pictures that I haven't posted. So what I'm doing now is in the year of those pictures, Google says, oh, this was a year ago. So I go and with ChatGPT, I say, hey, I did this year. Can you put a nice post? And now ChatGPT knows that my branding is pure positive and inspiring. So it's always having some inspiring thought that comes with that. Yeah, but I do it for right now. I'm still doing it myself. But the pages, like the SNR services page, Rosie Paulson page, that is now a team I have for that. My profiles are mine. When you're talking in Messenger, you're talking to me. Yeah, I haven't got to the point of the AI bot that answers your stuff yet. Yeah, don't know yet.
Well, in your business, it takes away the personal touch side of it because everyone kind of knows, and it turns people off.
Yeah,
so
you can
your
tell the difference
response
for sure.
drops. I mean, you're
Wait.
calling Verizon and the bot's answering you, or in your chat, people live with it. But when you're dealing with your healthcare, they want
Well,
to have
it's
that
just you,
personal touch.
and this is the thing, because I was there. I was there when you were. But I realized this Autobots or whatever you call them, they can be, and I go and, okay, if they answer this, I'm going to answer this. Like, it's like they're talking to me. What is the most important thing to you? Doctors or access to the grocery card?
Yeah.
See, the bot can answer that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I get at the end, this is what they want. This is what is important to them. Now I sit down with that information.
Yeah.
But I'm not going back and forth myself. The bot is. And
Yeah, that's just simple questionnaire. So I use AI for a lot of things. Have created a few, the AI action bots and the AI agents just messing around, not for my day job, but it does help me out in my day job. I was just curious. I always like to hear how people are using them differently.
But believe it or not, I have a friend that she says she buys, I guess they call journeys. A journey, because there's not that many journeys and effective journeys,
Journey.
is when the bot takes you from, okay, I'm just curious looking around to let's sit with Rosie.
Okay.
That's a journey because it's asking you all these questions.
Okay.
For Medicare, there's only one, because you can buy it and copy and duplicate it with your brand, right? With Medicare, there's only one person that has created that journey that has been effective. I don't know if there's other that they're not effective, but when you go Medicare, there's only one. And he charges $2,500 to buy that journey. And I'm like thinking, no, I'm not going to buy $2,500, so I'm going to create my own journey. Because again, I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he built relationships. I don't know who he is. But people will know who Rosie is because of my charisma and the way I answer. I even tell you my, and I know they're following me, but I said, I know when it's your post and when it's a post from your, like, your team.
Yeah.
They know
course.
because, it's like,
You can, your social media team should be able to create that because it's not, all it is putting a few steps in. I mean, you guys are more regulated and you got a stricter compliance, but really you're not asking for PI information during this. You're asking, you want A or B, filtering it down, and then you're meeting with them in person.
yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
mean, I bet a lot of people will buy it because a lot of people that own brokerages are non-tech savvy, possibly older demographic, stuff like that, to where it's fast and easy and they don't understand how it works, but it should be pretty easy to create.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to mention with the social media, this relationship currency. So I met my business coach. So I run away for business coach for the long time, but I met my business coach in this networking event. Now I usually, I've always networked with traditional, English speaking networking events. I've never went to the, when they diversify and they might have a Spanish speaking event. So I went one time and I met this gentleman that was from Peru, and he had like 9 different careers, and that's how he became my business coach. Now, at the very beginning, I would say, business coaches don't work, right? So the first 3 months we fought. Oh my God, we fought. My husband would say, why are you always talking to the talking guy? My husband called him the talking guy. And the funny thing is, because I usually have not, English is my first language, Spanish is my first language, but English has always been what I've spoken, because I'm here in this country 35, it's going to be 43 years. I came when I was 18, right? So why are you talking? But in the 3rd month, it was like, I don't know if it was the way he was talking to me, and because we were talking maybe in my native tongue, that it all gelled. And then I said, you know what? I need to stop fighting this guy. If I'm paying him to tell me what I need to do, I need to stop fighting him and do what he says. And when I really focus, he's the one that really clarify it for me, because I was focusing a lot on the Rosie Paulson Enterprises brand, which is more of the consulting. I wrote a book and talk about my entrepreneurial journey and stuff like that. But says, Rosie, your money maker is your Medicare business, and what you need to do is you need to duplicate it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hire people. He's like, no, you just don't have a clear mission. And when I came out with a mission, which is raising the next generation of insurance leaders with a servant heart, boom, it was like I arrived. And now from last year's first quarter, from 2023 to 2024, that first quarter, my business grew 600%. So that's the last thing I want to leave you with on the networking aspect. You get to meet some wonderful people that can also help your business, not only in the relationship part, but in the finance part. And then he understands that if I'm making money, I can pay him. And the beauty of everything is I don't have to do it all, because I'm good at building relationships. That is where I thrive, building relationships. So I have enough money to pay my accountant, because I'm not good at, putting those numbers. I'm not good. We were talking about cold calling. I've never done, never say never, because when I was in Humana, I probably did a couple of cold callings, but cold callings is not my life. Some people, you put them in a room with a whole bunch of lists, and they love those phone calling, those cold calling. They love that. It's just finding out what works for you. But for me, is coming over here and getting to know you and getting to know people face to face. So, yeah.
Do you have Spanish-speaking agents today?
I do. I have bilingual agents. And believe it or not, that is coming.
That would have seemed to me like where I guess, everyone's got different in how they look at it. But to me, that seems like the open space where no one would be.
No, believe it or not.
We're talking 10, 12 years ago, to where
10, 12 years ago, maybe, but now, no. Because now we have the people that do not, and this is where my little soapbox probably people get mad at me. But, I'm only going to service the Spanish community. Okay, good luck with that. Because why do you do that? But I stopped saying that, but I said, why? Because my English is just, I have an accent, and then when people tell me about their medications and they're spelling them to me, I can't understand. So I feel more comfortable speaking Spanish. So those people serve the Spanish community. However, the Spanish community is not loyal. And what's the name of the game for us? Retention. So they're all fighting for this little group of people, which is the Medicare, Medicaid. My niche is actually professionals. People like me that they're out there living the American dream. And we have our parents that we need to take care of. And we know that if my dad is he was a FIFA referee. He's in his 78, but he's very healthy. He runs and he does this stuff. If he breaks his foot, I need to take him to the orthopedic doctor at USF, because they need to treat him like an athlete that he is, not like an old 78-year-old man. Okay? Yeah, and I'm not going to deal with the HMOs and the referrals and nothing. We get in supplemental for him, And if he needs a surgery, he's getting that. Because if you put my dad down for a month, he will literally die. Because the only reason he's still alive today is because he's vibrant and he's, doing his thing. So for me, it's also why it's so important. But a lot of people would say, Rosie, you service the Hispanic market. I said, I influence it, but that's not my target market.
Yeah.
Now, if that opens the door for me to see the CEO of Apple, because they want to reach the Hispanic community, I'm gonna use that diversity to get in front of the CEO from Apple. But that doesn't mean that that's the target that I do. Now, my bilingual agents that don't feel comfortable, I'm trying to get them out of the part of thinking, I'm just going to service this. I'm going to service this. And they get it. I said, just go network with other Spanish-speaking people, but that they're bilingual. So A, you practice your English, and B, they're going to be more receptive because they have an accent like you do. But don't hone yourself and coming to the United States where we speak English and expect people that they have to speak Spanish for you. No.
Where are you from?
Ecuador, South America.
Yeah, my parents are from Argentina.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I looked at, whenever you first started talking, I thought of it as supplemental. I didn't think of it as siloing yourself. Because the people that do, generally it's more a confidence thing than anything. They need exposure, they need to get out and expand themselves. But it's just like any other business. Anytime you narrow your focus, right, you're hindering yourself. Your product, it better be niche to that market base. Yeah, I looked at it more as widening your exposure as opposed to.
Yeah. No, the widening my exposure has been my connections. My worth is not even my book of business, it's my connections. I can call Bill Cronin right now. I can text Bill Cronin and he'll answer me. I can text Sheriff Naco and he'll answer me. Okay? That's where my worth is. Because I can say, hey, I got this person that can connect with this person, and the door is open right there. That's where the beauty of what I have created, and that's the networking, has been so effective. But there was one thing I was going to tell you also, but it just flew, it just left. The other part, and one thing I also learned from this is a lot of these chambers have the elected officials that come to this event, especially Pasco, right? Pasco has all these elected officials that come. So I understood that as a entrepreneur, as much as I worry about my finances, keeping with my IRS and my taxes and stuff like that, I also need to keep up with my elected officials. Why? Because they are passing laws that affect my business directly or indirectly. So if I'm not paying attention to what they're doing, it is my responsibility. I elect those people. I hire those people to represent me when I vote for them. Yeah. So I better be ready to hold them accountable, and especially here in Pasco, you got some nice people that you can actually have a really down-to-earth conversation, and they'll follow through. No other county that I know is as good as that. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect neither, okay? Yeah. Nobody's perfect, but at least if you have something, it has always come through for me because of those connections, and I do. But yeah, and that it's all about finding your niche, like what you said, right? You go from this to this, this is what I was going to tell you. So just because when I started, I got so busy with Medicare, my new agents, they can be just Medicare, because Medicare is seasonal. The big time is October 15th to December 7th, and then we have a do-over for the buyer's remorse on January 1st to March 31st. But then what happens? People turning 65, people moving but it's not as much as those two seasons. So I tell my agents, okay, now you put a policy in there. What was their pain point? They needed to have dentures, and this plan might not cover the dentures, but hey, don't select the plan for the dentures when you need to have these doctors. So now go and talk to them about a dental policy. per se. See, I've never went back for a second and third or fourth policy, but I'm learning from that mistake, and I'm empowering and encouraging my agents, go back and see what else. Because if you, in our industry, if you put 2 or 3 policies in there, they will not leave. You know how it is that you will have to change all those policies over? People will not do that. Yeah.
I mean, that's
Interesting.
everything we've learned. We just call it, that makes you more sticky.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
They can't get rid of you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good word for that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then you mentioned about the young kids. So I'm thinking about going to job fairs for high schoolers, because the kids that they talk all the time and then get in trouble at school because they're not good at math, they're not good at writing and stuff like that, but they talk to people. 90% of my job is talking to people. I will teach them how to do Medicare. But if they're not afraid to talk to somebody, and I think that will be because a lot of those kids don't understand the freedom of having just a license and the residual income that you can build. My daughter and I just went to this big event called Medicarians. I'm so glad she went with me because she's 34. I can tell her until I'm blue in the face to get her license. She's not going to listen.
Yeah.
That place was full of 21, 23 years old, 31 years old millionaires. And she was like, how do you do? Oh, my parents got me into insurance right into that, and now I'm looking for their book of business and stuff like that. And she came changed with that. And I said, well, I only want to do 25 agents. She goes, I don't. I want to start recruiting. I'm going to recruit hard, Mom. I mean, I'm single. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have any children. I'm going to recruit. And that's when it dawned on me. This is my legacy to her. If she wants to take it to, because I can actually do it national. I have a license in Texas. We can recruit in Texas, okay? Which that's one of those things that eventually is going to happen. I said, I'm not going to limit her to 25. It has to be a lot more. But it's just bringing the whole thing, the kids together too.
I've had this conversation a lot recently. My son is whatever traditional AP class student, knew what he wanted to do, was on that path. My daughter, her skills are not rooted in the classroom. She has got some amazing skills, but that isn't always her strong suit. She's fine, but it's not her strength. So I've had to take a completely different approach with her, is let's look at all these alternatives. Not gonna be for her, but what I do for all these boys I talk to is, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to go to college. Okay. Have you ever looked at the trades? I don't want to work. I don't want to be stuck in an attic for HVAC or plumbing. It's dirty, this, that. Like, all right. I'm like, let's go talk to a plumber that's 27 years old. And then you start looking at them, they got their certificate. They graduated with no debt. They had a job. They got their apprenticeship in 3 to 4 years. They had their own business at 6 or 7 years. And now they're running their own company that is in immense demand. And but like you said, I cannot tell my daughter that. Somebody else has to tell her. So it's getting these kids to open their eyes and not put their head in the sand like people pre-65, because it's scary and it's the unknown.
Right.
Really,
and I think I don't know about you, but they never asked me what I wanted to do in my life.
Heck.
This started when we started having kids. How can you ask a 5-year-old what you want to do in your life? People change careers 3 times in their lives. Why will you put such a pressure on a kid? Don't put that pressure on that kid. But
and I think the same thing too is with college is
yeah.
people went to college, a lot of kids now